The topic for this week is adjectives. We already know that an adjective is a word that describes or tells you more information about someone or something. We have many adjectives: happy, sad, tall, big, small, many adjectives in English, but today we are going to focus about comparison and superlative adjectives. The first thing is to identify the 3 degrees of comparison that exist in English: the positive, the comparative, and superlative. The positive is the normal and general sense of the adjective. For example, big is the normal one, is the positive. Comparative is when you compare two things, two persons, two ideas. For this example, bigger. Superlative, it's when you say that something or someone is the highest level. That person or that thing has the highest level of the lowest level or something. In this case, biggest. Let me illustrate with an example. The apple is big. So we are just saying that something has a characteristic. In this case, we are saying that the apple is big. The second example, the apple is bigger than the other. This apple, I'm comparing this apple with the other apple that is next. This apple is bigger than the other. So I'm comparing two things. And the third degree is, this is the biggest apple. This one obviously is bigger than this and this. So I'm showing here with this example that this apple has the highest level of the other two. So these are the 3 degrees of comparison. But how to form? We have many rules that we need to follow in order to form comparative adjectives. We are going to talk about that first. So we say that comparison is when you have two things and you have to compare the characteristics of their two. So with short adjectives, the general rules is that we add er, okay, with short adjectives. But with long adjectives, we use more. So that's the general rule. But we have here some specifications. For example, syllable adjectives, one syllable, like old or fast, we only have to add er, older, faster. With syllables, adjectives ending in y. For example, happy or easy, we have to eliminate y and we have to change it for I in order to say happier or easier. The rule that er says, for example, if the adjective ends in e already, you only have to add r, no double the e. For example, late, later, okay? The word already ends in e, so only have to add r. The adjectives ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, so C, V, C, then you have this formula. You have to double the final consonant. For example, big, bigger, we double the G because we have consonant, vowel, consonant combination. If the adjectives is the same thing, they already explained this. If it ends in Y, you have to change it for I and add ER. But with long adjectives, we use more. For example, we have more than 2 syllable adjectives. We have to use more. For example, modern or pleasant, we say more modern, more pleasant, more expensive, more intellectual. Here you have examples here. And obviously we have exceptions, some irregular adjectives. Those ones you have to memorize it or to look for them in the dictionary. For example, good is the positive and the comparison is better, bad and is in positive, and comparison is words, and so on with other examples here. So remember, for comparisons, when we are doing a comparison with two things or two persons, the general rule is if the adjective is short, add er, and if it's long, use more in front of the adjective. So superlatives, on the other hand, is when you are saying that someone or something has the highest or the lowest level. So that thing is the most. There is no other person, there is no other thing more than that. So the general rule is that we use est for short adjectives, and with long adjectives we use most. Okay, and we also use this special article, the, at the beginning of the phrase. For example, the rule says with short adjectives like old, we add the article first and then est, the oldest. So old, the oldest. If the adjectives ends in E, you only have to add est. Late, the latest. If the adjective, the same thing, has the formula consonant, vowel, consonant, double the last consonant and add est. Big, biggest. If the adjective ends in Y, you have to change it also. And here you have happy S. So sorry, we have missing here is and T, but happy S is the correct one. And with long adjectives, we use most, right? For example, we have this long adjectives like modern, pleasant, intellectual, expensive. We say the most expensive, the most modern. So this is basically the rules. est and most, and also the use of the at the beginning. And also we have irregular forms, like in positive we have good, but in superlative is the best. Bad is for positive degree and the words is for superlative degree. But what happens if you want to create a negative comparison or a negative superlative form? We use less or least for doing this. For example, in comparison, we use less plus the adjective. But in superlative, we use least or the least plus the adjective. For example, let's take a look to this one that is the common adjectives, like sweet. You say less sweet, menos dulce, okay? The least sweet, lo menos dulce. So that is the superlative and comparison using negative elements. In this case, we use less and least. And here you have examples when we are using, when we're creating sentence using to be verbs. For example, Mr. Bucket's team is less motivated than Mr. Maguire's team. We are doing a comparison here between two teams. We are using to be, then the negative element that is less because it's a comparison, and then the adjective. But in superlatives, we use least. Here you have an example. You three are the least well-behaved in the whole class. Here we are saying that these people are the least, los menos portados, los que se portan peor son ellos. So we are doing the formula. We have the subject, then the to be, then the element that is the negative, the least, and at the end we have the adjective. So here you have example. The car is the most expensive. With beautiful, it is the most beautiful. It's the least comfortable. The car is the most reasonable. Here you have some examples, but let me do a comparison here about two things, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, okay? And we have three sentences doing the comparison, the superlative characteristics of these two items. Coca-Cola is tastier than Pepsi. Here we are using a short adjective, so that's why I only have to change this in R-E-R. Pepsi is the cheapest. So I'm saying here that Pepsi has the highest category here. Pepsi is the cheapest. Pepsi is less old than Coca-Cola. Here I'm using less because I'm doing a negative comparison. I'm comparing old, and I'm saying that Pepsi is less old than Coca-Cola. So here you have the way how you are going to create sentences for comparison and superlative forms using adjectives.